The following is an exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the National Football League. On this episode of the Panthers Huddle, Coach Dave Canales is here as the team prepares to play Green Bay at historic Lambeau Field. Plus, TD breaks down Micah Parsons and the Packers in this week's film room. Welcome inside the Panthers Huddle.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us inside the Panthers Huddle. Kristen alongside my incredible co-host and Panthers legend Thomas Davis. TD, starting with that game last Sunday, the Panthers had been rolling, but unfortunately tough loss to the Bills right here. What is the biggest key for really bouncing back after a loss like that?
KB, it was a very tough loss, but this is one of those losses where you find out a lot about your team's identity. You find out what your leadership is like. You find out what the resiliency is like for this football team. And guys have to understand that you can't sit back and dwell on this game. You got to move forward. You got to put this one behind you. It's a 24-hour rule in the NFL on how long you can mourn or celebrate a win or a loss. And that's what this team has to understand, and now it's moving on to the next team.
And we saw, a tough loss against the Patriots, and then the Panthers come back and reel off 3 straight wins. So.
Yeah, KB, the difference in that, though, they had the opportunity to come back and play home. Now you lose at home for the first time this season, and then now you got to take it on the road. And you're taking it on the road against a team that's rolling, that's doing pretty well. So it's going to be a great matchup to be able to see how this team bounce back on the road against the Green Bay Packers.
Excellent point. Let's zoom out a little bit. We're about halfway through the season now. This team is sitting at 4-4. How do you assess where they are so far in this season?
If you told me coming into the season that, we would lose the guys that we lost and still have the opportunity to be sitting right here at 4-4, I would be ecstatic about where we are as a football team. And, it's really all about now, let's see what happens in the next quarter, because as players, we break this season up in quarters. You got 4 games, 4 games, 4 games, 4 games, and, well, now they added another game from when I played. But, that's kind of how we break the season up, and you try to go back and see how you fared in those quarters. And, sitting right there even, I think that's a pretty good spot for this team right now.
When you look at this roster, there were 10 Week 1 starters that have missed at least 1 game for this roster. We can see it right here, and many that have missed more than 1 game. TD, this is quite the accomplishment to be at 4-4. You're the one that pointed that out for us.
KB, that's a huge coaching job. If you ask me, to be able to have guys in and out of the lineup like this, and in particular guys that you knew and you had penciled in to be your starters, and then to be able to be sitting in a position where you're 4-4 after 8 games, I think that really speaks to the job that the coaching staff has done, in particular on the offensive line and the defensive line. Those where we lost the most bodies. But I just think that the next man up mentality has really loomed large for this team, and it's still going to have to loom large because we have some guys that we lost in this last game.
Well, and you pointed out another thing to us. If you compare other teams that have lost a lot of starters, like who?
Listen, the Baltimore Ravens are a team that a lot of people had high hopes of potentially going to the Super Bowl on the AFC side, and we know traditionally the Ravens have been a really good team. They've won 10 or more games since Lamar Jackson has been the starter for their football team. And they've lost the same number of guys that we've lost, and now they're sitting at a position where they've only won 2 games, KB. And to think about the Ravens being 2-5 right now is unheard of. But to think about the Panthers and the Ravens having the same amount of injuries, but we have figured out a way to get it done, I think that's a true testament to Dan Morgan and his staff for the guys that they brought in, not only as the starters, but our backups that have stepped up and allowed us to still be competitive in all of these games.
All right, TD, going on the road, as you said, good challenge here against the Packers in Lambeau. As a defender, what is the first thing you look for as you begin to scout this new team?
When you scout the new team, with any team, though, you always want to make a team one-dimensional. But this team, it starts with Jordan Love. He's the head of that snake. He's a guy that adds another component. You got to look in and find out if the quarterback offers a dual threat component. Is he capable of running the football? Is he capable of just beating you with his arm? What can the quarterback bring to the table? But any team that we get ready to face, you got to make sure that you make them one-dimensional and you force the quarterback's hand. Jordan Love has been a guy that has been very comfortable all season long. So this defense has to figure out a way to make him uncomfortable by getting after him, showing him some different looks on the back end. He's gotten extremely comfortable, as you see right now, getting the ball to Tucker Kraft. That's one of his favorite targets. You know, he's had receivers in and out of the lineup, KB, but Jordan Love is a guy that sat back, he waited his turn, and they had to make a decision on him. They let Aaron Rodgers go, and he stepped in a big way for them, and he's been very, very good for the Green Bay Packers. But he has also been comfortable and had situations where he hasn't had to play from behind a lot. So that's one of the things that we have to do as a football team. We have to jump out on them early and take away that run like we were doing in our wins and really force their hand and just kind of force him to have to sling the ball around the yard.
All right, well, TD is going to break down even more of this Packers team when we get inside the film room. But right now, TD, I had a chance to catch up with one of your former teammates, the longest tenured Panther in franchise history and a captain on this team. Here's long snapper J.J. Jansen. I want to ask you about broadcasting and being on air. And you've been hosting Cart Talk for a few seasons where everyone go check it out if you haven't. I'm sure you have. It's on all the Panthers social media. It's on the website, and you drive around guys on the team. You've had legends. I mean, I even saw you in a truck with, I think, was it Greg Olson or Luke?
Yeah, we did a bit of a series with the 2015 guys, Olson, and
really.
I've always felt like this place operates best when the fans know their players and they have a relationship with them. This is just a very family-friendly community, the Carolinas, and so I've always thought that the best teams excel when the team fits the community. And I always thought the way we fit the community is to be in the community. I thought Charlotte has always been that way. And so just one of the ways to sort of connect players to the fans. And so I said, look, I would love to just host this and work on my hosting chops, because we're very good at getting interviewed. I've had years and years of practice being interviewed, but what you do, that hosting job is really hard because you're holding conversation. In my particular case, I'm also driving, trying to not commit any traffic violations, which I think I made a few. Luke and Coach Rivera were both like, "Hey, there's a stop sign," because I'm looking over here conversing with them while probably blowing through stop signs and stuff like that. So we're working on multitasking.
Coming up, Kristen Balboni talks with Coach Dave Canales as the Panthers hit the road to play the Green Bay Packers on the Panthers Huddle. This exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers Television Network is brought to you in part by Bank of America, the official bank of the Carolina Panthers.
Back here on the Huddle, always pleased to be joined by head coach Dave Canales. Coach, I want to start with this run defense from last week. We know how great they are and what they are capable of. Unfortunately, we didn't see that against the Bills. So what has this week looked like in terms of getting back to that Panthers identity of stopping the run?
Absolutely. Let's first give credit where credit's due. Buffalo did an excellent job executing the run game. James Cook was fantastic on Sunday. We've got some success right behind us, right in our rearview mirror. The reminder for the guys, this is how we get this done. The discipline it requires to fit your gaps, to get the tackles, to get the guy down, which requires team tackling, that type of effort. They're up for the challenge. They understand what's required to have the success that we've had.
We know that you also want to run the ball. How do you plan to get back to that this week against a very good Packers team?
Absolutely. I think for me, and Brad, coming together with a good game plan where our guys understand what we're trying to execute and making sure we're putting them in the best position to be successful. Really the effort was there, what we're looking for. It was an efficient run game. It wasn't explosive like we've been used to, but it's about getting back to just everyone finishing the play with your hands on somebody. It's the effort that's required to get this thing going.
We've seen 2 games now where both Chuba and Rico have been able to split these carries. How do you evaluate their performances in those 2 games?
Yeah, well, Chuba, we know who Chuba is and what he means to this team, and the identity that we created, running the football over the course of last year, then coming into this year. We've also seen Rico make a real impact in the run game, and it's my responsibility to make sure that we get those guys to affect the game in a positive way, and that's something that we're working through right now, and you'll be able to see on Sunday what that looks like.
Speaking of affecting the game in a positive way, all signs are pointing to having Bryce Young back on the field. How huge is that for this team?
It's amazing, the leadership that's required of all the guys, dealing with different things and finding a way to get themselves back to Sunday. The success that we were having by Bryce, being efficient, finding his explosive plays when they're there, making great decisions for us in the run game, in protections, in the pass game. It'll be great to get him back out there so we can continue to push our football forward.
Unfortunately, a lot of injuries in that game last week. The one that stands out to me is Brady Christensen with that Achilles. I want to ask you about him first before we talk about this O-line in general.
I can't say enough about Brady Christensen, what he's meant to this group, and playing all across the offensive line really last year. The tackle spots, guard, bailing us out at center a couple of times. And, it's the spirit of who Brady is. He comes to work every day focused. He's a great teammate. He's selfless. A grinder and a fantastic athlete, and he was our big tight end at one point as well, it's those types of guys that really motivates the rest of the group. He's a leader. He doesn't say much, but it's about how he goes about his business, and so we definitely are going to miss Brady.
Speaking of the offensive line, great challenge ahead this Sunday against the Packers. Micah Parsons, you saw him last year with the Cowboys. How do you plan for a guy that can line up wherever he wants?
Yeah, it starts off with great technique. So you have to evaluate the film and see what he's trying to set up when he's an edge player. What is he trying to set up when he's lined up on the interior? Because he'll present different looks. He'll be in a 3-point stance in the interior as a tackle at times, and then he'll be stacked in a 2-point stance as a move-around spinner. He's been effective in all 3 roles. So we have to be aware of that, and a lot of the things that we do in terms of the timing of the rhythm of how we're throwing it. Can we employ extra help with the tight end or with a back to try to find him and slow down the rush in different ways?
This Packers offense, Jordan Love, of course, but they also have a great running game. What do you see from them that they present?
Yeah, it's variety. It's creativity. They use a lot of pre-snap motion to try to create space in your defense, horizontal stress with some of those things. They have a really solid tight end room as well. Guys that have been productive in the run game, but also in the pass game. So the balance of it, the variety of it is what creates the most challenges. And then, of course, Josh Jacobs is a really special talent.
Playing at Lambeau, I think no matter what team you're on or when you've been or what it is got to be a special experience. So have you had moments there, and what's that been like?
I've been in Lambeau in a couple of different scenarios. When I was in Seattle, regular season and playoffs in Tampa. In 2023, we went there. Baker Mayfield had the highest QB rating in the history of Lambeau Field for a visiting quarterback.
So you like Lambeau then?
It was a special day, but I got to say that was my first win in Lambeau, and I'd been there a couple of times. But it's important for us to take in the moment, to regard the history and tradition, and it's also important for us to understand the field is 53 1/3. It's 100 yards long. And this is our new opponent, which is going to present its own challenges, and we have to be able to maintain focus, but also enjoy the place and respect the history of it.
Finally, Coach, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're about halfway through the season, week 9 this week. You talked a lot about evaluating. I know that's something that you and your coaches do every week, but then also you take these moments kind of halfway through the season to look at things. So how do you evaluate this team halfway in?
I'm really proud of the identity that we're creating. I'm proud of the principles. I think it's important that we're principled as a team, from our coaching staff and our players, our leadership group who's stepping forward every week to get back to Wednesday, and it's about the work. And it's about returning to Thursday. It's about the ball. Friday, the focus that's required as a week starts to come to an end, and you have all of your situational game plan done. And for the guys to continue to advance our football, the focus that's required in this time. Everybody's tired. Everybody's dealing with something. And to be able to come together, to have an identity, that's what I'm most proud of, is that we're finding an identity of how to play football.
Coach, we always appreciate you taking so much of your time to chat with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.
Up next, step inside TD's film room as the Panthers legend breaks down Jordan Love and the Packers offense on the Panthers Huddle.
We are here now inside TD's film room. And TD, when you talk about the Packers and you break down film, there is one guy that you have to start with, and that is Micah Parsons.
You got to know where he is, KB, at all times on the field, because he's a guy that can completely wreck your game plan, because he played with a relentless motor and relentless effort throughout the entire game. So we're going to identify where he is on this play right now, and you can tell that Pittsburgh knows where he is because they dedicated a lot of guys to him on this particular play. And as you see right now, we let this play out. The tight end gets a chip on him, and then the tackle is one-on-one. But then, as you see, we'll show you from this angle right here, the guard is going to identify that his tackle needs help, and he comes out and helps him. But I just told you that Parsons plays with relentless effort. As you look right now, the tight end just chipped him, and now you got two guys that are on him. So you say to yourself, we have this guy covered. Aaron Rodgers is thinking that I don't have to worry about Micah Parsons on this particular play, but I told you he plays with relentless effort, and he's not going to stop, even though that those two guys have hands on him right now. As you see, he finishes by getting Aaron Rodgers on the ground. So he's the guy all game long we have to identify and know where he is. In particular, with our offensive line being banged up, we got to have a game plan for him, KB.
I thought that number 1 jersey is very fitting for him, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It is. All right, let's look now to the offensive side. You talked about Jordan Love, and he's got a weapon in Tucker Kraft. In that game that we were just watching film on, over 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. TD, what is that connection between the two of them?
Listen, Tucker Kraft is one of those tight ends that in this league, he's not one of those guys where he's just going to line them up, flex them up outside, and he's not going to block. He does it all for them. But one of the things that he does extremely well is catch the ball out of the backfield or from the line of scrimmage or flexed out. Anywhere you put him, he has great hands. And KB, I talked about this in the production meeting that we had. He really reminds me of Greg Olsen. And the way Cam Newton used to use Greg Olsen with the wide receiver matchup and core that we had, Cam was very comfortable going to Greg Olsen, and Jordan Love is comfortable going to Tucker on these particular plays.
Yeah.
So this is one of the times they identify the coverage, getting the ball to him, and he just breaks tackles. Guys fear him for whatever reason, so we got to be strong in our tackles because he's not a guy that's just looking to go down. As you can see right now, this guy right here for Pittsburgh should come away with this tackle. But he goes in there with a mindset of, let me just slow him down, and hopefully some of the other guys will come and make the tackle. But you'll see that they have this guy blocked up right now. He's blocked up, KB. So all Kraft have to do is make one guy miss to finish this play in the end zone, which he does. And he also got in the end zone another time against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we have to absolutely understand where this guy is at all times on the field.
Another guy that we have to understand where he is at all times, Josh Jacobs. As you said, they like to run this ball. So what does he bring, and what do the Panthers need to watch out for?
Listen, we got to do a much better job this week of stopping the run, because we know that we didn't do that last week. And this is a team that's going to be committed to the run. So like I said earlier, we got to make them one-dimensional. We got to force their hand, because they will hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs 25-plus times, and this is why they are comfortable doing it, because Pittsburgh has this play bottled up right now. If you look at this and you watch the way that this play goes right now, right here, you would probably say that this should be tackled at the line of scrimmage or possibly for a loss right now, because if everything is right, like this is gapped out, that's gapped out, he has nothing over here, nothing in here, nothing right here, and on the edge, if he jump cuts, this guy should come up and make that tackle. It should be a no gain or a loss on this play, KB. But I just told you, Josh Jacobs has great vision. He has a really good jump cut that he's going to utilize on this play. And right there, he used it. The guy, again, did not want to make the tackle on him. He finishes in the end zone. So what this says to me, KB, we have to be a very good tackling team this week against this Green Bay Packers offense, because these guys don't go down easy.
TD, if memory serves, you played against Josh Jacobs, right?
I did.
How did it go?
It went extremely well. It went extremely
For
well.
you.
I got things done. against a young Josh Jacobs, but I feel like he's learned a lot as his time has gone on. So, yes.
And that he's not playing against you
Right,
now. That could be something with it. All right, that was a lot of fun in TD's film room. Coming up, we are going to let you know what we are honed in on, and one of the things that we're going to be talking about are those two guys right there. That's what we're spotlighting. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning for the Panthers Television Network is provided by Charlotte Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat Associates, providing premier eye and ENT care to North and South Carolina.
You were so fast. You were so good. You were fast. You were flying.
You got that Milky Way right there, Ken?
It is time now for our Coke Spotlight. TD, what is the one thing that you are really honing in on in this game against the Packers?
KB, for me, my spotlight has to go to the turnovers. Offensively, we have to do a great job of making sure that we are taking care of the football. And defensively, we also have to do a great job of making sure that we're getting the ball out and taking the ball away and getting it back to our offense. That's going to be one of the key components to us winning this football game. In any game moving forward, winning that turnover battle.
Such a huge predictor of who wins and who loses the game. We know Green Bay is great at taking care of the ball as well. My spotlight is on this run game. We have two healthy running backs. What a great problem to have. We'll see how this plays out. It seems like Rico's a little bit more of the hot hand. We'll see if he gets more carries in this one. But again, you've got two good running backs that can run the rock, and that is certainly what the Panthers want to do. All right, this is going to be a fun one up at Lambeau on Sunday. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next week. But until then, TD, tell them what to do.
Keep pounding.
You've been watching the Panthers Huddle, a copyrighted presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the NFL.